Okay, we did it. We did it. Let's, first things first. The bottom center of the screen says that we've beaten 31 games this year and 478 since we started doing this in 2020. Those numbers are now obsolete. We've now beaten 32 games in 2024 and 479 since we started doing this in 2020. Let's go. All right, yeah, I have thoughts. 75% of the way through this game, I was certain that it was my favorite Mega Man so far. It was the hardest, it was the least glitchy, and I thought it was the most interesting when it came to the levels, the mini-bosses. I thought the regular bosses at the end of each level were tough but fair, until you get their ability, like their weakness, which after a few of the levels you start to get those. But the first few were pretty tough, and but not in a broken way, like Mega Man 1, for instance, or even Mega Man 2. Story, whatever. I didn't care about the story. I thought the music was right on par with 2 and 3 as some of the best video game music in existence. I thought this game brought the heat on that too. I thought that the art style, Mega Man has a very specific style, right? And this game expands on that in a way that makes sense, but is also super cool and interesting. You can tell that there's been a little bit of an improvement in graphical capability for the NES, or they've gotten better at programming it, because the enemies look richer and they look better. So, again, 75% of the way through this game, I was like, well, this is my favorite Mega Man, because it's, actually really hard, but fair and really fun. And then I got to the last area, and everything changed. So, I don't mind the stuff that, where you go through the final levels, and they're really hard, and they were really hard. I don't really, in the end of, anyone who's played through all the way through any of these Mega Man games knows that you have to kind of employ all of your special abilities that you've gotten over the course of the game, right? So you have to use your dog a lot to, jump onto ledges and fly across things, and you have to use certain abilities to break through walls so that you can get special items and yada yada. I don't really enjoy having to go into the pause menu and switch that every 10 seconds. I think that that's just a baked-in inherent flaw of Mega Man. The way that it's just that the interface is so hard, it's so clumsy, you know. It's what they had to do because the controller had 4 buttons on it, you know. But that's not something you have to deal with now, because there's 18 buttons on your controller, and you can assign all that and hotkeys and blah blah blah. It's cumbersome to have to go into the menu and do that, right? So that's one thing, but that's all the Mega Man games are like that. Another baked-in flaw of Mega Man is that if you enjoy the boss fights, which I do, those are some of my favorite parts of the game. Once you get about halfway through, you're more than likely to have whatever the weakness is for the boss, and suddenly it's not about figuring out the first 4 bosses in this game were fun as hell, because I was having to really buckle down, I didn't have whatever weakness they had. I had to buckle down, use my Buster Cannon, and just figure out their patterns so that I could kill them without getting hit too much. That was my favorite part of the game, probably. I think my favorite boss of the whole game was Ringman, who wasn't even one of the final bosses or anything, because I really struggled to fight him, and then eventually I learned his pattern and destroyed him, eventually, and that was really gratifying. But the later bosses, you already know what their weaknesses are, so you just tank them. You just figure out whatever, it takes 5 hits to take down their whole health bar if you've got the right weakness, right? So that's not quite as fun. It is a little gratifying to be able to mop the floor with some of those guys, but it's not as fun, right? But that's all Mega Man games. Every Mega Man game has that inherent baked-in problem, right? Not that big a deal. It's still fun. It's just, it's just an observation that it's a little bit of a flaw in the formula. I don't even know how they would fix it. But that's not what I really hated about the end, because at the end you have to go back and fight all of them again, right? I mean, you kind of have to do it all at once, and they give you a little bit of health every time. It's hard, but and I couldn't have done it without some spam saving, but quite a bit of spam saving, especially toward the end. But not the final boss. The final boss was actually kind of a pushover, but the next to last boss, I used up something that hurt him, and then it was gone, and then nothing else really hurt him much, and I had to find a weird way to cheese him, which is bad enough. So that's just another baked-in flaw of this game. It's like if you don't have the energy to use whatever ability that one of those later bosses is weak to, you're just effed. Like, not only do you have to die, you have to die until all of your lives are gone, because there's no way to get any more energy. And then you have to start the whole level over, if not worse. I don't know how that game overs work on this, but I think it's just the level. When you do, and then when you start over with a new continue, then you will have more, it'll fill up your energy, I think, right? So that sucks. But even worse than that was that boss, that penultimate boss, was so it fired a lot of projectiles really quickly, and so it was extremely glitchy. Everything on the screen is flashing. I don't know where I am. I don't know where my bullets are going. I don't know whether I'm hitting the boss, because there's so much sound and stuff going on, audio and video, that some of the sound effects aren't playing. So sometimes I'll hit him and he'll flash, but it doesn't make the sound that I know it's supposed to make when I hit him. I don't know what to make of that, because I can't see his health bar either, because the health bar is flashing in and out. I can't see my own health bar a lot of the time, which is important, especially at the end when you've got those energy capsules and you have to pop them whenever you're getting really low on life so that you can top up your health. Well, I need to know when to do that, and the only way to do it is to pause. And some of the buttons didn't work. Like, I would hit pause over and over and over. I would even hold up my controller to show I was doing it, and it just wouldn't pause, because I guess the game's too busy doing other shit that I couldn't even pause to change my abilities, to check my health. Anyway, I died, I don't know, 80 times to that guy, just because I was just dying over and over, just trying to, because I had no way to exploit his weakness, because that ability was already drained of energy, and I sure as hell wasn't going to start the whole level over. So I just had to use my Buster Cannon, and which dealt very small amounts of damage at a time, and use my dog to, like, do it a way that the game's not even designed to be beaten, where I have to jump on my dog and then shoot this thing that's too high for me to hit. That was rough. And then the last thing, and I don't know if this is I should really say this is an official complaint, but I did not know that you could charge your Buster Cannon in this game. Apparently this is the first game. It better be the first game you could do it. I don't think you could do it in 3. Apparently you can charge your attacks. And not only that, you can charge all of the special enemy attacks too. I went through the whole game without knowing that. And then suddenly toward the end, it's required that you do that. And I'm glad. And so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I eventually look it up, and it's like, oh yeah, you have to fully charge your attack. I had no idea. So if I were playing this in the olden days, I would probably have a manual I could read, and it would tell me that. If I were playing this on an emulator, then it would be my responsibility to read the manual, because I know I'm not going to get any of that. But when I'm playing on a collection that's been built for the PlayStation, you would think they would tell me that. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think it is in the... I bet it is in the button configuration. No. It's fucking not. So, like, if all it would need to say is, hold to charge next to fire. That's all it would need to say. And they just didn't put that in there? So if that's not in there, then that is a complaint. That should have been in there. Because I looked at that button configuration at the very beginning of the game. I would have known that I could charge my attacks. I had no idea. The game never told me. Again, if I'm playing on an emulator, I know that the onus is on me through, I learned the hard way that the onus is on me to look that kind of thing up because the emulator's not going to tell me, right? But if this is a packaged thing and you've got a button configuration, you can't tell me that I can charge. That would have made the game so much fucking easier, or at least more reasonable. So anyway, I know I'm angry and because of the end of this game is it's rough. It's rough, especially going into it without using a guide. At least at first, I did eventually look up because I died 80 times. I was assuming I was doing something wrong, which was correct, and that's how I found out that the weakness, which was a weapon I had already used for his first form, and now he's got his second form, and so it was a whole thing. But all of that being said, I still think this is a better Mega Man than 1 or 2, because just for the first parts of the game, the first 75% of the game is amazing. It's just the end. And I really liked Mega Man 3, so I have a lot of thinking to do as to whether I liked this one more, because I did really like it. It's just I hated the final few bosses. I hated them. So, this was the hardest Mega Man, I think. Definitely. I died more in this one than any of the other ones, although it was kind of close. I died 260 something times, I think, in Mega Man 3. So I topped 300 on this one. So it's the hardest by that count, but I'd say it's the hardest anyway. I did really enjoy it. There was just a few things toward the end of the game that were like, it just makes me think, like, if I was actually being forced to play this game with finite lives and I didn't have save states, I wouldn't even. That's why I never played any of these games, because I would pick one up for 15 minutes and I'd say, and then I'd run out of lives or whatever and go back to the beginning of the game, and I'd be like, fuck this, I'm not doing this. I'm not spending 250 hours to try and figure out how to beat Mega Man 4. Fuck that. As a 10-year-old, I've got better things to do. That's why I never, like, there's a lot of Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis games that I played for 20 minutes. 30 minutes, maybe an hour, because this shit happens, and it's like, I am not going to devote hundreds of hours to try and figure out exactly how to get good at every level of this. No, fuck that. I am not doing that. And I'm not one of those people. There's a rewind function. I don't use it. I don't use the rewind function. But, and I try not to load unless I die, because otherwise the death counter gets really messed up. But like at that last final boss, dude, I didn't use the rewind. I might have if I'd remembered I had it, but yeah, I get hit a few times. Fuck this. I'm reloading. Or if I missed a single shot with the last boss, I would have been fucked anyway. So I would just reload, so it's nice that I have that option, but there is something that feels unethical to me about subjecting children to this. Because it is so brutal. And this isn't the worst of it. There are games out there like the Ninja Gaiden original trilogy that put this one to shame when it comes to unfair difficulty. Most of this game was actually pretty fair, but it is hard. And the end is not fair at all. Not with how janky that final run of bosses was. So anyway, whatever. We did it. And I did really enjoy it. It kind of ended on a sour note, and so I'm a little pissed about it. But I did really enjoy it. Okay, I'm not going to be playing another Mega Man game for a while, so the last order of business is Mega Man Legacy Collection. It's been fun. This is my son's PlayStation mostly. I'm just using it because, again, my friend has my PS5. So I'm actually going to leave it on there because I wouldn't mind if my son started playing some Mega Man. That'd be cool. So I'm going to leave it on there. But this is normally the part of the game where we'd say, Mega Man, it's been fun. Mega Man 4, it's been fun, but we're now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. But since you're part of a collection, I still need to play 5 and 6, and I'm going to get my son to try and play this. I just said that there's something unethical about subjecting children to this. I'll think about it, okay? Anyway, it's been fun, Mega Man 4. Thank you for allowing us to play you. I did and ultimately have a great time. Thank you.